Ladies, let's be honest for a moment. This is a real conversation because if we're really being open, there's a certain part of intimacy that makes a lot of women feel a bit nervous, unsure, or even a little shy. But here's the surprising part. It also happens to be one of the most powerful ways to stir up a man's deepest attraction and build a connection. He won't be able to forget. I'm talking about giving him oral, not just doing it, but doing it with confidence, with clear purpose, and with the kind of skill that lingers in his memory every time his mind wanders, which, let's face it, happens often. Now, this isn't about acting like someone else. It's not about becoming a fantasy you saw in a movie. It's about becoming the kind of woman who knows his body better than he does. It's about learning how to touch the core of his desire, not just to please him, but to step into your sexual confidence in a way that leaves him completely taken in by you in the best way possible. What makes this so intense isn't only the physical part, it's the energy you bring to it. It's the way you look into his eyes, the way you tease, the way you move with patience, the rhythm, the steady confidence in your hands and your mouth, because when you know what you're doing, when you take the lead and understand the deeper meaning behind the act, he won't look at oral the same way again. And more than that, he won't see you the same way again. So in this video, I'm going to break down 5 powerful techniques that don't just excite him, they make him obsessed with you. These aren't just tips. These are real shifts in mindset and physical approach that move you from she's pretty good to I can't get her out of my head good. I want you to take in what feels right to you, try it, explore what makes you curious, and most importantly, do it in a way that feels strong and natural to you, because intimacy isn't about putting on a performance. It's about being in the moment. It's about knowing you can slow down, take control, and give in a way that makes him want to give all of himself to you, ready to learn how to go down with confidence and leave him craving your body, your thoughts, and your heart. Let's get into it. Slowing things down really matters. Don't jump into it too fast. When it comes to giving a man oral, a lot of women naturally assume the point is to get right to it, to make him feel good quickly and get that reaction. But that kind of thinking is where all the deeper magic disappears. Slow everything down, because what really drives him wild isn't just reaching the peak. It's the journey, the suspense, the feeling that you're not just doing something to him. You're there with him fully in the moment and enjoying it just as much. The first key move is to ease into it. Guys are visual, physical, and very driven by instinct, but they're also sensitive to your energy. If you're rushing, he can feel it. But when you go slowly, you create this powerful kind of tension that takes over his whole attention. You're not only showing him that you know what to do, you're showing him that you're leading the way. And believe me, nothing is sexier to a man than a woman who enjoys teasing him. It's a psychological thing. It tells him that you're so sure of how to please him that you don't have to rush. You'll take your time because you want to. So instead of going straight to the main area, start around it. Literally, use your hands, your mouth, your breath. Explore the space surrounding it. Kiss his inner thighs. Brush against him softly. Let your lips stay on his skin without applying pressure. All these light touches wake up his nerves, his brain starts spinning, his pulse speeds up, and suddenly he's completely focused on your every little move. That's how you build anticipation. That's how you take it from she's doing something for me to I don't want this to end. And don't overlook one important part, eye contact. When you pause to look up at him and lock eyes, you're not asking for approval. You're letting him know you're in control and enjoying every second. That one look can spin his whole mind around. It builds closeness, trust, and turns a physical moment into something deep and unforgettable. By the time you even begin, he's already halfway gone, because for him, the teasing wasn't just a warm-up, it was the main event. And once he feels how tuned in you are to his pleasure, how confident you are in building that slow burn, he won't just want the feeling, he'll want you, your focus, your control, your presence. Remember, it's not about doing more, it's about doing less with more purpose. Slowing down doesn't make it boring, it makes it addictive, it makes him feel like you're the whole experience. And when that happens, he's not just turned on, he's completely taken over by you. Use your hands as part of the experience. A big mistake people make is thinking oral is all about your mouth, that your lips, tongue, and technique are the entire thing. But here's what most guys won't say out loud. It's when your hands and mouth work together that things go from this is good to what just happened. Your hands aren't just for guiding or holding him, they're part of your sensual power. They help you create layers of feeling pressure and motion that make the moment unforgettable. And how you use them says more than words ever could. It tells him, I know what I'm doing, I'm not in a hurry, and I'm taking charge. And that right there is enough to make him melt. Here's how to do it right. Don't start using your mouth and hands at once without any plan. Begin by softly exploring with your hands, almost like you're learning what he likes. No firm gripping, just gentle gliding, light touching with real focus. Let it feel slow and thoughtful. And once you bring your mouth into play, let your hands join in too. If your mouth is at the tip, let your hand gently slide and twist near the base. If you move to use your tongue, make sure your hand stays in motion to keep the rhythm going, so he's always feeling some form of touch. This is when you become almost mesmerizing because now his brain can't keep up. Your hand and mouth are sending different signals with different pressures, and suddenly it's more than he can handle in the best way possible. That's when he's not just physically into it, he's emotionally caught up in it too. The real skill comes from how well you read him. Pay close attention to how his breath changes, how his muscles tighten, how he moves his hands toward you or grips the sheets. All those little things show you what's hitting the right spots, and when you respond to those signals, when you match your pace and pressure to what he loves, you're not just doing a good job, you're creating a powerful memory, one where he felt truly seen, fully taken in, and deeply desired. A lot of women think of their hands as just something extra. But when you learn to use them with care, confidence, and practice, they become your special edge. That's how you go from she was good to I can't think about anyone else. It's not about being flawless. It's about focus, control, and real connection. His pleasure isn't just something you give. It's something you guide. And when you hit that perfect balance, he'll be completely undone. Now let's get into teasing. Because if there's one thing that can turn a man into total putty in your hands, it's the art of the tease. Most people don't realize just how wildly powerful buildup can be, especially for men. And I'm not only talking about making him wait. I'm talking about keeping him in that perfect space where he doesn't know when or how he'll get what he wants. That kind of mental tension, that feeling of not being in charge, it pushes him over the edge in the best possible way. When you tease, you're not just touching his body, you're capturing his thoughts. He starts to imagine, to crave, to want more. His body reacts stronger. His skin gets more sensitive, and his reactions get even bigger. He becomes totally focused on your next move, and that's when it gets even better, because once he's hanging on by a thread, that's when you change the game. That's when you switch from light, slow, and soft to bold, strong, and completely in control. You find your rhythm lock eyes, and without needing to say anything, let him feel you saying, I've got this. That change from gentle teasing to full control, it shakes up his entire body and wipes out every thought in his head except you. Let's dive into that. Even deeper teasing isn't just delaying. It's about creating fire start by getting close. Let him feel your breath touch his skin. Let your lips graze the sensitive spots, his inner thighs, his stomach, his hips, anywhere but the main area. Let your fingertips draw light shapes on his body. Stay calm. Stay steady. Maybe give him one soft kiss, then back off. Maybe touch him lightly, glance up at him with a playful look, and pause. The longer you wait, the more his need for you builds up. And when you finally give him what he's been secretly hoping for, don't hesitate. Go all in. Don't ask what he wants. Show him he doesn't even get a say. That moment when you take control is everything. Now he's not just reacting to your touch, he's giving in to you completely. That's what makes you unforgettable. Not just what you did, but the way you did it, with boldness, with sensual energy, and with clear purpose. You didn't just turn him on, you owned the whole experience. Many women think they need to be smooth and slow the entire time to be good at this, but the real magic comes from contrast, from mixing gentle touches with intense ones, from keeping him guessing. That's what turns a sweet moment into something powerful that stays in his memory, something he keeps replaying when he's alone. Teasing isn't just playful, it's your hidden power. Use it well, and he won't just want more, he'll crave it. Lock eyes with him like he already belongs to you. If there's one move that turns a normal moment into something unforgettable, this is it. Look right into his eyes while you're doing it. not a quick glance or a nervous peek. I mean, really holding eye contact like you know exactly what you're doing, like you're silently saying, yes, this is happening and I'm in charge. Here's something a lot of people overlook. Physical closeness can also be very emotional, especially for men. Sure, men are often seen as more focused on the physical, but when a woman enters the room with confidence and calm energy, it wakes up something deep in them. Suddenly, they don't see you as someone just trying to please them. They feel chosen. You're not following, you're leading. You're pulling them into something they didn't even know they were missing. That look you give him ties everything together. It makes what's happening physical, emotional, and unforgettable. Without saying anything, it shows him you're strong, present, and unafraid to be fully seen. And in that space, he can let go completely. But don't push it. This isn't about making it too intense or stiff. It's about holding his gaze just long enough, then breaking it with a little smile, a teasing smirk, or a raised brow like, yeah, you feel that? That shared look creates a loop in his mind. He sees you, he feels you, and now he won't be able to get you out of his head. There's something deeply magnetic about that kind of eye contact. It's not about pretending or putting on a show, it's about being present. When you look up at him like that, it says, I'm not just here with my body, I'm fully here with my mind, my heart, and I want you to feel all of it. That kind of energy breaks past surface level attraction. It makes him feel excited and safe at the same time, and that feeling is hard to let go of. Here's a little extra move. When he's really close to the edge, right there, look at him slowly and deeply. Don't rush it. Let your eyes stay locked with his. Let him feel your fire. That one moment alone can be enough to push him over, not just because of the physical pleasure, but because of how deeply seen he feels. In a world where many men often feel unseen outside of moments like this, being noticed and felt that way doesn't just excite him, it calms something deep inside him. This isn't about acting or pretending. It's about being fully there, letting him experience not just your touch, but your confidence, your energy, your control of the moment. When you take something intimate and add that emotional layer, it becomes more than just physical. You leave a mark on his memory that lingers. You ruin him in the most unforgettable way. If you really want to leave a lasting impression, whisper something. There's something ancient and powerful about a whisper, especially in the middle of pleasure. Don't shout it. Don't say it out loud. Let the words slip from your lips softly, right near his ear, while he's wide open, focused only on you. If you want to stay in his thoughts for days, this is how. Because what you say in those heated moments, it stays with him long after the rest fades. Touch might not last long, but whispered words do. I'm not saying to say something wild just for shock. It's not about being crude. It's about using your voice like another kind of touch, one that touches his emotions while your hands or lips move on his body. It builds the tension, deepens the moment, and makes sure he remembers you long after it ends. So what should you say? That's where the real magic starts. Say something unexpected, something that lights up his thoughts and not just his senses. It could be a slow, steady, I love watching you fall apart, or you taste amazing, or even, I'm nowhere near finished with you. Maybe it's a bold hint about what's coming next, or maybe it's something sweet and real, like, I've wanted this all day. Whatever you choose, let it come from a real place. Let it sound like you're claiming him. That's the key. It should feel personal, not random. Wait until the moment is perfect, when he's totally into it, breathing hard, grabbing the sheets, lost in you, then lean in. Let your lips brush his ear and speak slowly. Let your breath hit his skin while your words sink into him. That's what makes a real impression. Not just what you do, but what you say and how you say it. Because now, the memory isn't just about touch. It's tied to a feeling, to a voice, to something deeper. That's what sticks. Here's the secret that brings it all together. Your words reveal your power. They show him you're not afraid to lead. You're not just reacting. You're shaping the experience. And to a man, that kind of strength is electric. That's the kind of woman who stays in his mind. Not just a passing thought, but a vivid memory he can't stop returning to. the one whose voice, whose eyes, whose energy keeps replaying in his head. You can be soft, you can be strong, you can tease, joke, and play. Just mean every part of it. Let it come from a place of ownership. Your voice, your timing, your confidence, that's what sets everything apart. A whisper at the perfect time from a woman who knows her strength, that's not just sexy, that's unforgettable. So don't hold back. Speak. Let your voice be slow, soft, and filled with intention. Let it touch the part of him that your body alone can't reach. Because when everything quiets down, when he's lying there afterward with nothing but the memory, it's not just the physical part he'll remember. It's your voice, your gaze, your presence. That's what comes back to him. That's what keeps him hooked. These aren't just tips. They're keys to creating real connection. A quick, heated moment doesn't have to feel rushed. It can feel full, deep, and lasting. It can touch both his body and his heart and leave a mark. Because when you show up with all of you, your boldness, your playfulness, your mystery, you don't just please him. You leave a part of yourself with him. You make him feel something unforgettable. You make him want more than your body. You make him want you. And isn't that what true passion is? Not just the surface stuff, but the part that reaches past skin and into that space where desire and feeling blend together. That's where real chemistry lives. And now you know how to take him there, fast, deep, in a way he'll never forget. If this stirred something inside you, if it woke up the part of you that wants to own your power, to be bold, magnetic, and fully present, then don't keep that energy inside. Share this. Hit like, subscribe, and tell someone who needs this reminder. Drop a comment. Which part are you ready to try? Or better, what's your move that always gets results? Remember, you're allowed to lead. You're allowed to feel desire and show it. And when you do, you don't just turn a man on. You live in his thoughts, in his wants, in his dreams. Until next time, stay bold, stay glowing, and most importantly, stay all of you.
Decode relationships and reshape connections. Ladies, have you ever noticed that certain women have a way of making men crave them long after the moment has passed? They leave a lasting mark on his thoughts, a feeling he simply can't shake. No matter how much time goes by or how far he drifts, he always finds his way back to them. What's their secret? It's not about appearance. It's not about constantly being available, and it's definitely not about chasing after him. It's about what they do after intimacy that keeps him drawn in. Today, I'm uncovering exactly what makes men return again and again to the women who truly understand this powerful truth. And once you grasp it, you'll never feel like you have to beg for a man's attention again. Men always come back to women who make them feel emotionally safe and respected. At the core of every man's psyche, there's an unspoken but deeply rooted need for security, not just physical security, but emotional security. Society tells men they need to be strong, that they must hold everything together, that they are the providers, the protectors, the unwavering force others rely on. Yet, beneath that tough exterior lies a hidden vulnerability. A need to be accepted without judgment, to be understood without ridicule, to have the space to let their guard down, even if just for a short while. Women who provide this space, who create an atmosphere where a man can be both strong and vulnerable, become unforgettable in his mind. Most people don't realize that respect isn't about submission or about catering to a man's every demand. That's not respect, that's self-sacrifice. And self-sacrifice without meaning leads to resentment. True respect is about recognizing someone's essence and treating that essence with care. A man doesn't keep coming back to a woman because she constantly praises him or never disagrees with him. He returns to the woman who truly sees him, who acknowledges both his strengths and his flaws, and still chooses to stand beside him, not out of fear, not out of need, but from a deep, conscious appreciation for who he is. This is where so many women fail to recognize the power they hold. When a woman allows a man to express himself without fear of being dismissed or criticized, she offers him something the rest of the world often denies. Men are repeatedly told to suppress their emotions, to endure without complaint, to man up. They are conditioned to believe that showing vulnerability makes them weak. But human nature is not that simple. You cannot expect someone to give you their unwavering loyalty and love if you do not provide them with a space where they can lay down their burdens. The women who understand this, the women who listen without constantly interrupting, who can hold space without trying to fix or control, who offer support without making a man feel weak for needing it, are the women who linger in a man's mind long after the moment has passed. It's not because they are passive, it's not because they constantly bend over backward to please, it's because they honor the complexity of human nature and they do not use a man's emotions as a weapon against him. But let's be clear, this does not mean tolerating poor treatment. It does not mean accepting disrespect or being a doormat. In fact, the women who master this art of connection are often the ones who set the strongest boundaries, who refuse to tolerate dishonesty or neglect, and that is precisely why they command so much respect in return. A man who knows that a woman respects him but will not tolerate less than she deserves is a man who feels both challenged and deeply valued. He understands that if he does not cherish what he has, he risks losing it. Men crave emotional safety just as much as women do, but they don't always know how to express it. They are drawn to women who make them feel like they can remove their armor without being left exposed. These women create a dynamic that is both comforting and exhilarating. When a man feels truly seen and respected, he does not feel trapped. He feels free. He feels free to open up, free to trust, free to lean into the relationship rather than pull away. It's no accident that the strongest relationships are the ones where both people feel secure in each other's presence. And security isn't built through control or manipulation, it's built through authenticity. A man is drawn to a woman who respects him, not just for what he provides, but for who he is at his core. That kind of respect is rare. It is not given lightly, it is earned through patience, understanding, and an unshakable sense of self-worth. A woman who values herself naturally extends that respect to others, and in doing so, she becomes the kind of person a man wants to come back to, not because he feels obligated, not because he's afraid of losing her, but because being with her brings him a sense of peace, unlike anything he's ever known. The power of scarcity is something many people don't fully grasp, especially in relationships. We live in a world that constantly pushes the idea that being more available, more accommodating, more present is the key to holding on to someone's love. That if we offer ourselves without limits, if we keep giving without restraint, if we are always within reach, we will be valued more. But what does that actually do? It doesn't create appreciation. It doesn't inspire respect. Instead, it breeds familiarity, and when familiarity goes unchecked, it leads to complacency. The truth is, human nature, especially for men, is wired to cherish what feels rare, what isn't easily replaced. It's not about being manipulative or playing games, it's about understanding psychology. The things we work for, the things we feel could slip away, the things that demand effort from us, these are the things we value. It's a basic principle that extends far beyond relationships. It's present in economics, in social hierarchies, even in personal ambition. What is handed over too easily is often taken for granted. What must be earned is treasured. Now apply this to intimacy and relationships. If a woman makes herself overly available, too predictable, too accommodating, she unknowingly diminishes the very thing that makes her desirable. It's not about withholding affection. It's about understanding that people crave what feels just slightly out of reach. When something or someone is always there, always saying yes, always within easy reach, the mind registers it as a given, and things that are taken for granted do not inspire deep appreciation. They do not spark longing. They do not create the kind of desire that makes a man replay conversations in his mind, wondering what she's thinking, feeling the pull to chase, to prove, to invest. This is why the most captivating women do not revolve their lives around a man's attention. They are not desperate for validation. They do not rearrange their schedules at the last minute just because he calls. Not because they are indifferent, not because they don't care, but because they recognize their own worth. A woman who has her own passions, her own purpose, her own sense of fulfillment is a woman who stays on a man's mind long after she's left the room. When a man realizes a woman is not waiting by the phone, not basing her happiness on his every move, not chasing his attention, it forces him to acknowledge that she is not a given, that she has depth, that she is a person with standards, with options, with a life that does not revolve around him. And that realization is what sparks true desire. That is when he begins to pursue her, not out of habit, but out of genuine attraction. Many women mistakenly believe that by always being available, always saying yes, always accommodating, they are proving their love. But what they are actually doing is removing the very challenge that keeps love alive. People do not deeply value what comes too easily. They do not fully respect what is constantly available. The most cherished individuals are those who naturally command respect, not by demanding it, but by embodying it. That is control, and control is not the same as value. What she does instead is focus on herself. She puts her own ambitions, happiness, and fulfillment first. She understands that love is a part of life, not the entirety of it. And when a man realizes that she is not someone who will simply wait around, who will accept mediocrity, or who will settle for less than what she deserves, he is compelled to rise to the occasion. The human mind craves a challenge. It thrives on the pursuit of something significant, something meaningful. When a man understands that a woman is independent enough to leave if she is not respected, he sees her as something rare. And anything rare, by its very nature, demands admiration. It compels appreciation. It makes people act with purpose rather than complacency. The most captivating women do not plead for attention. They attract it, not through control, not through arrogance, but through the undeniable power of their self-worth. Confidence and self-respect are magnetic because they represent something deeper than just physical appeal. They signify capability, independence, and the ability to stand strong in a world that constantly tries to define a person's value. People are naturally drawn to those who exude purpose, self-respect, and an unshakable belief in their own value. This is especially true in relationships. Men are not attracted to desperation. They do not desire neediness. They may tolerate it for a time, and some may even take advantage of it if they lack integrity, but they do not truly respect it, nor do they genuinely crave it. What men, and in reality all people, are drawn to is the individual who does not need outside validation to feel complete, the person who steps into a relationship as a whole being rather than as someone searching to be made whole. There is nothing more appealing than a woman who understands her own worth, not because she has to prove it, not because she demands recognition, but because she embodies it in the way she moves, the way she speaks, and the way she carries herself in the presence of others. When a woman is deeply in touch with her value, she does not tolerate disrespect. She does not shrink herself to fit into a version she believes will make her more attractive. Instead, she stands firm in who she is. She recognizes that love is not about losing oneself in another, but about sharing oneself in a way that enhances rather than diminishes. And this is where so many women go wrong. They think that to be loved, they must be needed. They confuse love with dependence, believing that the more they do, the more they give up, the more they sacrifice, the more they will be appreciated. But that is not how human nature works. People do not admire those who abandon themselves for someone else. They do not value what they can control completely. The moment a woman starts to compromise her own identity, her own beliefs, and her own desires in an attempt to keep a man's attention, she stops being the woman he was initially drawn to. He was attracted to her strength, her spirit, her uniqueness, and if she lets that fade in an effort to sustain the relationship, she becomes interchangeable because there is no longer anything distinctive, anything extraordinary, anything that makes her stand out. Confidence is not arrogance. It is not about dismissing others or believing one is above them. It is about possessing a quiet, steady understanding of one's own worth. A woman who genuinely holds confidence does not need to manipulate. She does not need to plead or beg. She is simply herself, fully and unapologetically. And that is exactly what makes her irresistible. She knows that if a man does not recognize her worth, that is his loss, not hers. She understands that her value is not defined by whether someone chooses her, because she has already chosen herself. Self-respect is not selfishness. It is not indulgence. It is the foundation of all healthy relationships. A woman who does not respect herself cannot fully love another, because love that stems from insecurity is not love. It is dependency. It is the desperate attempt to fill an internal void that only she has the power to fill. And when someone enters a relationship from that space, they do not love freely. They love with conditions, with fear, with the silent panic that if they are not enough, they will be abandoned. But a woman who truly values herself does not love from fear. She loves from strength. She is not afraid to be alone because she knows that solitude is not the enemy, self-betrayal is. She does not need constant reassurance because she is already secure in herself. And that level of self-assurance is intoxicating. It is what pulls people in. It is what makes a man want to be near her, to earn her trust, to be chosen by her, not out of desperation, but out of true respect and admiration. The irony of attraction is that people do not chase what is easily attained. They chase what they fear losing. And nothing is harder to replace than a person who is genuinely at peace with themselves. A person who does not rely on outside forces to define their worth. A person who remains whole whether or not they are in a relationship. That is what makes someone unforgettable. Not just physically appealing, but deeply, profoundly captivating. The kind of presence that lingers in someone's mind long after they have left the room. What you say and do after intimacy can determine whether a man continues pursuing you or starts taking you for granted. Because human relationships are deeply psychological, driven not just by emotion, but by ingrained biological and social instincts, people often misunderstand this. They assume that intimacy alone is enough to sustain attraction, that the connection created in the most vulnerable moments will automatically keep two people bonded. But that is not how it works. Attraction is not a switch that once turned on stays on forever. It is a dynamic process shaped by perception, respect, and the delicate balance between security and desire. When a woman understands this, she approaches intimacy differently. She does not see it as an endpoint, as if she has now won a man's devotion. Instead, she sees it as a transition, one that sets the tone for how she will be seen moving forward. And what so many overlook is that what happens after intimacy often holds more weight than the act itself. It is in those moments when emotions are high and vulnerability is at its peak that the foundation of attraction is either strengthened or weakened. A woman who immediately seeks reassurance, who clings, who anxiously watches a man's reaction for signs of increased attachment, she unknowingly diminishes the very attraction she wishes to reinforce. This is not because a man lacks emotional depth, nor because he does not care. It is because human nature is wired to appreciate what is slightly out of reach. The moment something feels too certain, too secured, too easily available, it loses some of its psychological grip. This is why in economics, exclusivity drives demand. Why in storytelling, unresolved tension keeps people engaged. And why in relationships, a touch of unpredictability keeps passion alive. The women men return to are the ones who do not smother the moment with expectation. They do not rush to define, to demand promises, to force a particular response. Instead, they allow space, not coldness, not detachment, but space. Space for a man to process his own emotions, space for him to feel desire on his own terms, space for him to come to the realization, without being pushed, that what he has just experienced is something rare, something he does not want to lose. This is not about playing games. It is about understanding the deep nature of human desire. When a woman openly expresses through her words or actions that she has completely given herself with the assumption that the man must now automatically become more devoted, more present, more committed, she unintentionally shifts the balance of power. She transitions from being the one who is desired to the one who is seeking validation, and desire does not flourish under pressure or expectation. It thrives in a space of voluntary pursuit. The women who leave a lasting impression are those who, even after sharing intimacy, maintain their sense of independence. They do not immediately reshape their emotions based on how the man reacts. They do not become fragile or anxious, waiting for proof of their worth. They stay centered in themselves as they were before, as they will be after, and in doing so, they communicate something far more powerful than words. I choose you, but I do not need you to choose me to feel complete. Men pick up on this. They notice the difference between a woman who has simply shared a moment with them and a woman who has now subtly placed the burden of her emotional security onto them. And it is that difference that determines whether he sees her as someone to treasure or someone who was too easily won. A woman who remains unforgettable after intimacy does not overwhelm a man with urgent affection. She does not immediately seek confirmation. Instead, she remains steady and self-assured. She shows warmth but not dependence. She lets the moment exist without forcing it forward. She subtly reminds him that she is still her own person, that she still holds her own identity, that she is still above all someone valuable, someone he must continue to pursue if he wishes to keep experiencing her presence. This is why certain women leave men longing for more, not because they are playing hard to get, not because they are distant, but because they embody something rare. A person who can share closeness without losing themselves in it. A person who does not mistake intimacy for possession. A person who remains at their core someone to be pursued, not someone who simply waits to be claimed. People do not deeply value what they take for granted. They do not chase what they already completely own, and they do not yearn for what they no longer fear losing. A woman who understands this, who moves through intimacy with a sense of confidence and self-assurance, becomes someone a man cannot forget, not because she is unattainable, but because she remains just beyond his full reach, compelling him to reach for her again and again. Ladies, if this speaks to you, I would love to hear your perspective. Have you ever noticed that men are naturally drawn to women with this level of confidence and self-worth? What has your experience been? Share your thoughts in the comments below and let's talk. And if you found this insightful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful relationship insights. You deserve to be cherished, pursued, and adored, not just today, but always.
A smart woman doesn't need to be the loudest in the room or the one with the most glamorous appearance. She understands exactly when her silence matters and where not to place her energy. Many confuse intelligence with just having lots of information, but real wisdom shows itself in presence. The rare ability to notice your emotions without letting them take over. The real question isn't, how can I be smarter? It's, what should I stop doing that clouds my thinking? If you're new here, welcome to Self-Mastery, a space where we share timeless wisdom to help you guard your energy, lift your mindset, and walk in your true purpose. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a message that could touch your soul, strengthen your spirit, and redirect your whole journey. This is where true change begins. Many people go through life thinking that their reactions define who they are. But what if a woman's strength isn't shown in how quickly she responds, but in how carefully she pauses? In the space between what happens and how we respond lies true power. That space is where a truly wise woman begins her transformation. Not through arguments, not by getting even, not even by understanding right away, but through stillness. Emotional stillness doesn't mean silence just for the sake of it. It's not weakness or giving up. It's a skill, an awareness that's built over time. It's knowing that even when your heart feels like shouting or your words want to sting, you choose to wait. This kind of waiting isn't about ignoring your feelings. It's about being fully present. It's the strength to watch the emotional storm rise within you without letting it carry you away. We live in a world that constantly demands quick reactions, louder voices, sharper comebacks. But learning to respond with thoughtfulness instead of reacting on impulse is a quiet kind of rebellion. Many women are taught to feel deeply, to love, to express, to connect. and those qualities are beautiful. But when emotional stillness is missing, those same gifts can become harmful in stressful relationships. Just think about the woman who always feels misunderstood in her relationship. Maybe her partner says something careless or breaks a promise. Her body stiffens, her thoughts race, her voice rises. Not because she's wrong, but because no one ever showed her that her true strength isn't in how loudly she speaks, but in how well she manages her emotions. Science shows that the brain has two main ways of responding to stress. The first is quick and emotional, driven by the amygdala. The second is slower and wiser, led by the prefrontal cortex. That fast response often leads to words we later regret. The slower one allows space to reflect, understand, and choose a better way. A wise woman trains herself to operate from that second place, not because she avoids conflict, but because she values deeper connection more than temporary control. I once met a woman who had been married for over 2 decades. She told me the real secret wasn't shared interests or even compromise. It was emotional discipline. I used to react to everything she said. I thought defending myself meant I was strong, but I noticed the more I reacted, the more I pushed him away. So I started taking a breath before speaking. I started watching myself, and slowly our fights became real conversations. What changed wasn't her partner, it was her own relationship with her nervous system. The journey to becoming a wise woman often goes straight through emotional reactivity. You'll need to walk through the history of old pain, family patterns, and beliefs passed down to you. You'll need to notice when you feel triggered, not to judge yourself, but to give yourself the space you were never offered before. Space to pause, to feel, to ask, is this feeling really mine, or am I reacting to something much older? That moment of reflection is where real transformation begins. There's an old story from the East about a monk who trained his mind for years so that he wouldn't be shaken by either praise or criticism. One day, a man came and insulted him in front of others. The monk stayed calm, still and silent. When someone asked him why he didn't react, he said, "If someone offers you a gift and you don't accept it, who does it belong to?" That's emotional stillness. It doesn't mean you hide your feelings. It means you no longer accept every emotional invitation that comes your way. When you don't react right away, some may call you cold, but that's only because they were used to your reactions, not your presence. The more you respond from a calm place, the more clearly you'll see who truly respects you. The ones who stay won't be those who feed off drama, but those who respect your peace. Your silence might bother those who are always loud. Your calm might unsettle those who live in chaos. But your power will remain untouched. In relationships, emotional stillness creates the foundation for true connection. When you stop explaining too much, stop defending yourself constantly, and stop reacting, you make room for the other person to reflect on their actions. You hold up a mirror, not a weapon. Instead of making things worse, you become the one who brings clarity. And in that space, both of you can hear what's really being said beneath the surface. Often what sounds like criticism is really a call for closeness. What looks like pulling away is actually fear wearing a mask. But without stillness, you'll miss these deeper truths. You'll fight with shadows and forget that those shadows come from pain. A smart woman doesn't allow her emotions to take over her choices. She feels them fully, but she doesn't let them take the wheel. She knows that reacting from emotion can cost a lot: relationships, self-respect, peace of mind. So she chooses awareness instead. She takes a deep breath before speaking. She waits before replying to a message. She picks long-term peace over short-term wins. And in doing so, she becomes someone you can't easily rattle, mislead, or control. But there's something even deeper. Emotional stillness isn't just for how others see you. It's a gift you give to yourself. It's how you stop setting fire to your own peace just because someone else lit a spark. It's how you protect your nervous system, your heart, and your focus. In a world that's constantly loud and messy, The woman who stays calm becomes the one who helps others find their balance too. Her calm doesn't make her less emotional, it makes her deeply powerful. So the practice begins. Next time you feel the urge to react, pause, put your hand over your heart, notice your breathing, feel that strong emotion rising like a wave, and just notice it. Watch it come, watch it go. In doing so, you break the old habits of survival and step into the practice of self-mastery. You become less like a candle easily blown out and more like a mountain steady under the sky. This is your starting point. But being aware is only the first step. What you choose to do with that awareness is what shapes your energy. Because after stillness, the next lesson is about how you manage your personal energy. Before trying to fix any relationship, ask yourself, what energy do I bring into this space? Every person carries emotional energy. It's felt before anything is said. You can see it in posture, voice tone, eye contact, and presence. And many times, people aren't even aware they're carrying it. They bring old pain, worry about the future, or the stress of always saying yes to everyone. They carry this chaos with them and then wonder why they can't find peace. A smart woman becomes aware of this silent energy exchange. She knows her emotional state affects others. If she's calm, people around her soften. If she's tense, others get nervous too. If she's grounded, others feel safe. This isn't some special power, it's human biology. Our nervous systems respond to each other. Our brains have mirror neurons that pick up on the emotions of those near us. So your emotional state actually affects the whole room. Think of the last time you were near someone deeply peaceful. Maybe they didn't say much, but being around them made you feel calmer. That's because their energy wasn't scattered. They weren't trying to show off or pretend. They were just fully there. And real presence can shift any interaction in powerful ways. Managing your energy doesn't mean pretending everything is fine. It means practicing the habits that help you stay clear inside. Good sleep, healthy food, movement, quiet time, and strong boundaries. These aren't extras. They're your emotional support system. Without them, your energy leaks. You become moody, impatient, or disconnected. But when you respect these needs, you walk into rooms with a steady heart. You listen without jumping in. You speak without overwhelming. You love without losing who you are. I met a woman once who spent years trying to change her relationship by changing her partner. She read every guide, attended every workshop, still nothing worked. Eventually, she gave up trying to fix him and started focusing only on herself. She began meditating in the mornings. She slowed her pace. She began taking pauses during arguments. She started going to bed earlier and began to really listen. Within a few months, the entire feeling of her relationship shifted. Not because her partner turned into someone different, but because she did. This is what surprises people the most. You don't always have to fix someone else. Sometimes the shift starts by clearing the energy you carry into the relationship. Your partner's defensiveness might not always be about them. It could be their nervous system reacting to your unspoken tension. Your child's meltdown may not be the issue itself. It might be reflecting your own inner stress. Your friend pulling away may not be their fault. It could be their response to your distracted presence. Energy communicates whether we're aware of it or not. The most magnetic women are not always the ones with the most stunning looks. They are the ones with the cleanest energy. They aren't trying to prove anything or push anything. Their calm shows before they even speak. Their presence invites rather than pressures. And they develop this not by controlling others, but by learning how to manage themselves. There's an old truth. When you master what's within, you begin to influence what's outside. A woman who knows how to calm her own chaos becomes a safe space for others. Her energy isn't loud, but it's deeply felt. When she enters a room, people notice something they can't quite explain. Something calm, balanced, and rare. That something is inner clarity. And clarity draws people in. In a world where women are often pushed to do too much, achieve more, and give beyond their limits, the wise woman takes a different path. She learns to manage her energy before anything else. She says no without guilt. She rests without feeling bad. She listens to what her body needs. She settles her thoughts. She respects her own needs. And because of that, she becomes the one who sets the emotional tone in her relationships, not the one who reacts to it. This isn't just about spirituality, it's about the body too. A woman who is calm on the inside breathes differently. Her heart rate shows more balance, a sign of emotional strength. Her stress hormones go down. Her digestion improves. Her immune system becomes stronger. These things may seem small, but they are the physical roots of emotional wisdom and healthy connection. When your energy is scattered, even love becomes hard to feel. But when your energy is clear, even difficult conversations can lead to deeper closeness. You stop pointing fingers and begin to listen. You stop reacting fast and start responding with care. You stop needing others to fix your emotions and start choosing how to handle them. The wise woman doesn't go looking for peace in other people. She creates it inside herself. And from that space, she connects not out of fear, but out of wholeness, not to avoid being alone, but to share her fullness, not to earn love, but to give from her abundance. Before she speaks, she checks her energy. Before she replies, she finds stillness. Before she chooses, she comes back to alignment. She's not perfect, but she is intentional. She's not flawless, but she is self-aware. That awareness becomes her quiet power. Her relationships transform, not randomly, but through small, intentional decisions to return to herself. There's a type of strength that silence reveals, and a kind of deep knowing that doesn't shout, but shows itself through patience. Many people think that every truth must be said, that every thought must be shared, that every conflict must be solved right away. But the wise woman knows that emotional maturity doesn't mean saying everything that's true. It means knowing when the truth will heal and when it might hurt. It means understanding that timing matters just as much as what's said, and that sometimes silence brings more clarity than words ever could. A woman once said, "I used to think that staying quiet made me weak. Now I see that silence is my boundary when words aren't valued." That shift in mindset marks a new level of emotional growth. The desire to speak is deeply built into us, especially when feelings are involved. When someone hurts us, disrespects us, or misunderstands us, our first reaction is usually to defend ourselves, to explain, to correct. But often speaking from that place doesn't bring peace, it brings more noise. And that noise buries the real message we wanted to share. Some truths are meant just for you, not for others. Some realizations rise inside you, but lose their value if forced on people who aren't ready to receive them. A wise woman doesn't stay quiet because she's scared. She stays quiet because she's sure of her values, sure of her direction, sure of her energy. From that certainty, she knows what needs to be said and what can simply be released. Picture this: your partner makes an offhand comment in front of others. Maybe it stings a bit. Your first thought is to correct them right away to show you won't tolerate that. But wait, what if silence, steady eye contact, or calmly walking away says more than any speech could? What if your quiet response actually shows your standards more clearly and invites thought instead of resistance? Psychology tells us people often get defensive when they feel attacked, even if they're in the wrong. But when met with presence instead of protest, they might actually pause and reflect. Silence creates space. Space brings tension. And when held with grace, tension can lead to awareness. Not always, but more often than yelling or arguing ever could. The story of a woman whose partner kept interrupting her. Every time she tried to talk, he would cut in or change the subject. For years, she argued and begged him to see how much it hurt. Then one day, she simply stopped mid-sentence and looked at him. When he interrupted again, she smiled softly and walked away. After a few weeks of this quiet shift, he began to notice, not because she shouted louder, but because her silence became a mirror he couldn't ignore. Intentional silence is a discipline. It takes knowing your emotional triggers. It means pausing when your pride wants to lash out. It means asking yourself what your energy truly needs in that moment. Sometimes silence protects your peace. Sometimes it protects the dignity of someone who isn't ready to hear the truth with kindness. And often it simply protects your own clarity without needing approval from anyone else. This doesn't mean you never speak your truth. It means you become more thoughtful about when your words are healing and when they're just noise. You don't hold back communication to punish others. You hold back to protect what matters. Because once words are spoken, they can't be taken back. And if those words come from emotional pain, they might do harm that silence could have prevented. Think of emotional intelligence like a garden. If you say every thought as it pops up, it's like blasting your plants with a fire hose. But if you water them gently at the right time and with care, growth happens. Intentional silence is that gentle watering. It gives room for relationships to grow. It lets you watch the other person, not just through what they say, but how they act when there's no reply pulling on their emotions. And it shows you who they are when your energy isn't tangled up in theirs. This doesn't just apply to romantic relationships. In friendships, family, or work settings, there's strength in choosing not to react, not out of fear, but out of presence. When you no longer feel the need to explain yourself to be okay, you reach a rare kind of personal peace. A woman once told me that silence helped her end a draining friendship. Every time she spoke up for herself, her friend twisted her words. One day she just stopped explaining, she stopped defending, and the friend, without conflict to feed off, quietly disappeared. It hurt, but it also healed her. Because that silence revealed something that arguing never could. Who was truly willing to meet her with respect. When your energy is no longer focused on proving your worth, defending your truth, or repeating your boundaries, you reclaim a powerful kind of strength. That strength isn't in controlling others, it's in staying aligned with yourself. You begin to live less on impulse and more on purpose. And people feel it. They sense your calm not as a lack of care, but as deep steadiness. They feel your silence not as emptiness, but as grounded clarity. You don't get pulled into every fight because not every fight is worth your inner peace. The wise woman speaks less but communicates more. She takes her time and sees more clearly. She's not afraid of being misunderstood because she's made peace with understanding herself. And through that inner peace, she discovers something even more powerful. She no longer needs to compete to feel worthy. Competition has been quietly planted in many women's lives from a young age through appearance, attention, success. But the wise woman no longer fights to be seen. She lives in her truth and lets her presence speak louder than her performance.
Decode relationships, transform connections. Welcome to the Motivation Hub. You see, strength is an anomaly to a narcissist. It unsettles them. It disrupts the carefully crafted illusion they've spent their lives maintaining, because at their core, narcissists are not powerful. They are not self-sufficient. They are in truth entirely dependent on the perceptions of others to sustain their fragile self-image. A narcissist's fear of losing control is not just a passing concern, it is the core of their behavior. At the heart of their personality lies a profound insecurity, one they work tirelessly to conceal beneath a carefully crafted exterior of confidence and superiority. This insecurity is the driving force behind their need to dominate others. For a narcissist, control is not just a preference, it is a necessity. Without it, their entire sense of self begins to unravel. When you become too strong, too independent, or too self-assured, they perceive it as a direct threat to the fragile identity they've built. Control allows a narcissist to maintain the illusion that they are superior and indispensable. They view relationships not as partnerships, but as power dynamics, where one person must always hold the upper hand. When you are vulnerable or uncertain, you are easier to manage. Your self-doubt becomes the perfect environment for their manipulation to thrive. But when you become aware of their tactics, when you grow beyond their influence, this balance shifts, and the narcissist is faced with an unsettling reality. They are no longer the dominant force. They are losing their grip. This realization triggers a deep-seated fear, because without control, a narcissist feels powerless, and a powerless narcissist is an exposed one. When a narcissist senses that they are losing control over you, their first instinct is to reassert dominance by any means necessary. This isn't a conscious decision driven by rational thought. It is a survival mechanism. Control is how they maintain their sense of self-worth, and the possibility of losing it feels like an existential threat. Their fear manifests in a variety of behaviors, many of which are subtle and difficult to detect at first. They might begin by questioning your perceptions, planting small seeds of doubt that, if left unchecked, can grow into full-blown self-questioning. This tactic, known as gaslighting, is one of the most effective tools a narcissist employs to destabilize your confidence. If they can make you doubt your memory, your decisions, or your judgment, they regain the upper hand without ever appearing openly aggressive. This fear of losing control also drives a narcissist to constantly test your emotional boundaries. When they notice you becoming stronger, they will probe for weak spots. They will push your buttons, provoke emotional reactions, and monitor how far they can go before you push back. Every interaction becomes a psychological game where their primary objective is to find a way back into the driver's seat. If they can trigger your insecurities or emotional wounds, they regain control by shifting the narrative. They want you to question yourself because the moment you begin to doubt your strength, they no longer feel threatened. Another way this fear manifests is through the narcissist's need to minimize your achievements. When you grow stronger, you inevitably begin to set boundaries and assert your own identity. To a narcissist, this is intolerable. They cannot stand the idea that you might no longer rely on their validation. In response, they attempt to diminish your growth, making your successes feel insignificant. They might mock your ambitions, downplay your progress, or suggest that you are only succeeding because of their influence. This is not an accident. It is a calculated attempt to shrink you back down to a size they can manage. The fear of losing control is not limited to private interactions. If a narcissist senses their grip slipping, they will often try to control how others perceive you. They may begin spreading subtle misinformation, positioning themselves as the reasonable and caring figure, while framing you as unstable or difficult. This preemptive strike serves two purposes. It protects their image and isolates you from potential sources of support. If they can make others doubt your credibility, they are better positioned to maintain control over you without appearing overtly controlling. This social manipulation is particularly effective because it makes you feel alone, and isolation is one of the most powerful tools a narcissist can use to maintain dominance. Beneath these tactics lies a truth. The narcissist will never admit they are terrified of being exposed. Their carefully curated image depends on keeping others in a state of confusion and dependency. When you become too strong to manipulate, you threaten to unmask the reality they have worked so hard to hide. This is why they react with such intensity. The stronger you become, the more they escalate their efforts to pull you back into their sphere of influence. The fear of losing control is not just about the relationship, it is about their very identity. Without someone to control, a narcissist is forced to confront the emptiness within themselves, and that is a truth they will do anything to avoid. When a narcissist perceives you as being too strong, one of their primary responses is to undermine you through tactics like gaslighting and subtle forms of emotional manipulation. This is not random behavior, it is a calculated effort to destabilize your confidence and regain the upper hand. At their core, narcissists fear losing control, and when they sense that you are becoming too independent or self-assured, they view it as a direct threat to their dominance. To maintain their psychological grip on you, they will engage in a systematic process of making you question your reality, your worth, and even your sanity. Gaslighting is one of the most powerful tools a narcissist will use to undermine you. It involves manipulating your perception of reality so that you begin to doubt your memories, your experiences, and your judgment. It starts subtly, small, seemingly harmless comments designed to make you second-guess yourself. For instance, you might recall a conversation where they said something hurtful, but when you bring it up, they will deny it ever happened. They might say, "You're imagining things," or "I never said that." Over time, these denials accumulate and you begin to question whether your perception is accurate. This confusion is precisely what the narcissist wants, because a confused person is easier to control. The more you doubt yourself, the less likely you are to trust your instincts and the more dependent you become on their version of reality. Another common form of undermining is subtle criticism masked as concern. When a narcissist sees you becoming stronger, they understand that direct attacks might push you further away, so they opt for a more insidious approach. They deliver criticism under the guise of being helpful or caring. For example, if you achieve something meaningful, they might say, "It's great that you succeeded, but are you sure you can handle the pressure?" Or, "I'm proud of you, but don't let it go to your head." These comments are deliberately crafted to plant seeds of self-doubt. Even if you feel proud of your growth, their subtle remarks make you question whether you deserve your success or whether you are as competent as you believe. In addition to gaslighting and subtle criticism, narcissists also use emotional manipulation to destabilize you. One of their most effective strategies is shifting blame. Whenever there is conflict or tension, they will redirect the focus onto you, making you feel responsible for their actions. If you confront them about their behavior, they will twist the narrative to portray themselves as the victim. For instance, if you point out how they belittle you, they may respond with, "I only said that because you were being so difficult," or, "If you didn't push me, I wouldn't act this way." This tactic not only deflects accountability but also makes you feel guilty for asserting yourself. The more you internalize this blame, the more likely you are to suppress your strength to avoid further conflict. Narcissists also manipulate through inconsistent behavior. One moment they may shower you with praise and affection, only to withdraw or criticize you the next. This unpredictability keeps you emotionally off balance, making it harder to maintain your sense of self-worth. When you begin to grow stronger and set boundaries, the narcissist senses that their control is slipping, so they oscillate between kindness and cruelty to keep you emotionally tethered. This push-pull dynamic creates a state of cognitive dissonance where you are constantly questioning whether the problem lies with you or with them. It's a psychological trap designed to weaken your resolve and pull you back into their control. Another manipulative strategy involves minimizing your feelings and experiences. When you express your emotions or concerns, they will dismiss or trivialize them. If you say you are hurt by something they did, they might respond with, "You're too sensitive," or "Why do you always overreact?" This minimization invalidates your emotional reality, making you feel as though your experiences are not valid or worthy of acknowledgement. Over time, this can erode your confidence in your perceptions and make you less likely to speak up for yourself. By diminishing your emotional experiences, the narcissist reinforces the idea that they are the authority on what is real and what is not. A particularly damaging form of emotional manipulation involves using your vulnerabilities against you. If you have shared personal struggles or insecurities with them, they will exploit this information when they feel their control is at risk. For example, if you confide in them about a past failure or fear, they may bring it up during arguments to discredit you. They might say, "No wonder you failed before, you're always like this," or "You think you're strong, but deep down you're still that broken person." These targeted attacks are intended to dismantle the confidence you have built and push you back into a place of emotional dependence. By using these methods, gaslighting, subtle criticism, blame shifting, emotional unpredictability, minimizing your feelings, and exploiting your vulnerabilities, a narcissist seeks to undermine your sense of self and re-establish control. Every manipulation is aimed at one goal, making you question your reality and your strength. When you are unsure of yourself, you become easier to influence, and the narcissist can once again feel superior and secure in their dominance. The more you grow and assert yourself, the more aggressive and persistent these tactics become, as the narcissist's fear of losing control drives them to escalate their manipulation. When a narcissist senses they are losing control over you, one of their most common responses is to shift into the role of the victim. This is not an accident, it is a deliberate and calculated move designed to manipulate your emotions and regain their dominance. The moment they perceive you as being too strong, too independent, or too self-assured, they begin to feel threatened. The power dynamic they once held is slipping away, and rather than confronting their own behavior, they reposition themselves as the injured party. This tactic serves two purposes. It diverts attention from their actions and makes you feel guilty or responsible for their supposed suffering. When you start to assert yourself, set boundaries, or refuse to comply with their manipulative behavior, The narcissist response is to portray you as cold, unfeeling, or even abusive. They might say things like, "I can't believe how much you've changed," or "I'm always the one trying, and you just don't care anymore." These statements are crafted to make you question whether you are being too harsh or unreasonable. By framing themselves as the victim, they shift the emotional burden onto you, compelling you to defend yourself or soften your stance. This tactic is particularly effective because most people do not want to be seen as cruel or heartless. The narcissist relies on your empathy to pull you back into their sphere of influence. A narcissist's victim narrative often involves rewriting history to fit their agenda. Conversations and events are twisted or distorted to make themselves look like the one who has been wronged. For example, if you call out their manipulative behavior, they will claim that you are the one being unfair or overreacting. They will conveniently forget their harsh words or actions while highlighting any moment of frustration or anger you display. This selective memory allows them to paint a picture where you are the aggressor and they are the helpless target of your supposed cruelty. This rewriting of reality not only protects their fragile ego, but also serves to confuse and disarm you. The more you try to defend yourself, the more they can position you as the problem. Another key aspect of the narcissist's victim strategy is their ability to garner sympathy from others. When they realize they can no longer control you directly, they often turn to people around you, friends, family, or colleagues, to spread a carefully curated version of events. They present themselves as misunderstood, unappreciated, and hurt by your actions. They may say things like, "I've done everything for them, and now they treat me like I'm nothing," or "I'm just trying to make things work," but they've become so distant and cruel. This tactic is known as a smear campaign, and its goal is to isolate you while preserving their image. If they can make others view you as the aggressor, they regain the power to manipulate your environment. The more isolated you feel, the easier it becomes for the narcissist to pull you back into their control. This portrayal of victimhood is also a form of emotional blackmail. Narcissists understand that guilt is a powerful motivator. When they frame themselves as wounded or mistreated, they provoke feelings of obligation and responsibility. You may find yourself apologizing for things you did not do or compromising your boundaries to ease their pain. This guilt-driven dynamic allows the narcissist to re-establish the upper hand without having to acknowledge their own behavior. They are not interested in resolving conflicts or improving the relationship. Their goal is to restore the power they feel slipping away. By keeping you trapped in a cycle of guilt and responsibility, they ensure you remain vulnerable to their influence. Narcissists also employ passive-aggressive behavior to reinforce their victim status. Instead of addressing their concerns directly, they use subtle actions to make you feel responsible for their emotional state. They might withdraw affection, give you the silent treatment, or engage in sulking behavior. This passive aggression is designed to make you feel as though you are the cause of their unhappiness. If you try to confront the behavior, they will further position themselves as the victim, accusing you of being insensitive or uncaring. This creates a no-win situation where any attempt to stand up for yourself is twisted into evidence of your alleged mistreatment of them. When a narcissist plays the victim, they are also attempting to maintain emotional control by exploiting your compassionate. Most people with a healthy sense of empathy naturally want to comfort someone who appears to be hurting. The narcissist counts on this response. By appearing fragile or broken, they encourage you to soften your boundaries and resume the role of caregiver. This is particularly effective if you have a history of being empathetic or accommodating. The more you try to fix the situation or ease their suffering, the more deeply you become entangled in their manipulation. What makes this tactic so insidious is how convincing the narcissist can be. They are skilled at presenting themselves as the injured party with enough sincerity to make you question your own reality. They use emotional outbursts, tears, or quiet withdrawal to reinforce the idea that you are causing them pain. Even when you know on a logical level that their actions are manipulative, their emotional performance can make you doubt your perspective. This is the essence of their strategy: to create enough emotional chaos that you lose your footing and fall back under their control. Throughout this process, the narcissist's primary objective remains the same: to restore the power imbalance in their favor. Whether they frame themselves as the heartbroken partner, the misunderstood friend, or the unappreciated family member, the end goal is always to weaken your resolve. They cannot tolerate the idea of you being strong, independent, or immune to their manipulation. By casting themselves as the victim, they attempt to reverse the dynamic and place you back in the position of being the one who needs to make things right. This allows them to regain the emotional and psychological control they crave while avoiding any genuine accountability for their actions. When a narcissist senses that you are becoming too strong, they often escalate their behavior through aggressive tactics. This escalation is not a random reaction, it is a calculated effort to regain the power they feel slipping away. At the core of a narcissist's identity is an insatiable need for control and superiority. When they perceive you as becoming independent, self-assured, or emotionally resilient, it threatens the very foundation of their dominance. In response, they become more aggressive in their attempts to undermine you, break down your confidence, and pull you back into a place of emotional dependence. This aggression can manifest in various ways, ranging from verbal attacks to psychological manipulation, each designed to destabilize you and reassert their control. One of the most common forms of escalation is verbal aggression. When a narcissist feels their grip weakening, they resort to harsh criticism, insults, and belittlement. These verbal attacks are not random, they are targeted at your vulnerabilities. If you have expressed insecurities in the past, they will weaponize them against you. For example, if you have doubts about your career, your appearance, or your relationships, they will focus their attacks on those areas. They might say things like, "You think you're so independent, but you wouldn't survive without me," or "No one else would put up with you." These comments are designed to chip away at your confidence and make you question the strength you are developing. By attacking your self-worth, the narcissist attempts to pull you back into a position where you seek their approval and validation. Another way a narcissist escalates their aggression is through emotional intimidation. This can take the form of explosive outbursts, silent treatment, or unpredictable mood swings. These behaviors create an environment of fear and uncertainty, making it difficult for you to maintain your emotional stability. When you begin to grow stronger and assert your boundaries, the narcissist interprets it as a loss of control and responds by making you feel emotionally unsafe. If you challenge them or refuse to comply with their demands, they may lash out in anger or withdraw affection to punish you. This unpredictable behavior is designed to keep you on edge, second-guessing yourself and your decisions. The goal is to make you associate your independence with negative consequences, thereby discouraging you from asserting yourself in the future. In more extreme cases, narcissists may engage in character assassination. When they feel that direct manipulation is no longer effective, they turn to smear campaigns to damage your reputation. This is especially true if you have begun to distance yourself or expose their behavior to others. They will spread lies, half-truths, or exaggerated stories to paint you in a negative light. They may tell others that you are unstable, selfish, or even abusive. This tactic serves two purposes. It isolates you from potential sources of support and reinforces their image as the innocent victim. By controlling the narrative, the narcissist ensures that others see you as the problem while protecting their own reputation. This social manipulation makes it harder for you to escape their influence, as the people you might turn to for help are already biased against you. A more insidious form of aggression is psychological manipulation through gaslighting. When a narcissist feels their control slipping, they intensify their efforts to make you question your reality. They will deny events that occurred, reinterpret conversations to suit their narrative, and insist that your perceptions are wrong. If you confront them about their behavior, they may respond with, "You're imagining things," or "You're being too sensitive." This constant invalidation is designed to create confusion and self-doubt. When you no longer trust your own memory or judgment, you become more reliant on the narcissist's version of reality. This is especially effective when you are in the process of growing stronger because it creates an internal conflict between your emerging sense of independence and the manipulated reality they present. Narcissists also escalate their aggression through controlling behaviors. When they perceive a threat to their authority, they may attempt to restrict your autonomy. This can manifest as monitoring your activities, invading your privacy, or dictating how you spend your time. If you start to form new relationships or pursue goals outside their control, they interpret it as a direct challenge. In response, they may accuse you of being disloyal or ungrateful. This controlling behavior is not about protecting the relationship, it is about maintaining dominance. By limiting your freedom, the narcissist ensures that you remain within their sphere of influence and prevents you from fully realizing your independence. A particularly cruel tactic involves exploiting your emotional triggers. Narcissists are skilled at identifying what makes you vulnerable, and when they feel their power slipping, they use these triggers to provoke a reaction. If they know that you fear abandonment, they may threaten to leave or withdraw affection. If you value harmony, they may create conflict to destabilize you. These calculated provocations are meant to break down your emotional resilience and force you back into a position of submission. The more you react to their manipulations, the more control they regain. This emotional warfare is not accidental, it is a deliberate strategy to undermine your strength and restore their dominance. Through all these aggressive tactics, the narcissist's primary objective remains the same: to re-establish control by breaking down your confidence and autonomy. Their aggression is a reflection of their own fear that they are losing the ability to dictate your thoughts, emotions, and actions. They cannot tolerate the idea of you becoming independent because it threatens the illusion of superiority they depend on. By escalating their behavior, they aim to pull you back into a cycle of self-doubt and emotional dependence, where they once again hold the upper hand.